Valet massacre. On July 28, 2025, around 7:30 in the morning, Justin Aguila and Andrew Canepa stood in the Valet area at Grand Sierra Resort and Casino in Reno, Nevada. The two 33-year-old childhood friends from California were waiting for airport transportation after celebrating a bachelor party trip. The morning was quiet, with only a handful of people moving through the pickup zone as the friends prepared to head home. Dakota Hoover, a 26-year-old man, drove into the valet lane and exited his vehicle carrying a handgun. He raised the weapon toward the valet area, but it jammed immediately. Hoover stood in the open, working to clear the malfunction, while people nearby began to realize what was happening. Within seconds, he cleared the jam and opened fire. Hoover discharged approximately 80 rounds indiscriminately into the valet area. Aguila and Canepa were shot from behind and killed instantly, their bodies collapsing near the waiting area. Angel Martinez, a 66-year-old local resident driving through the parking lot, was ambushed inside his car and killed as bullets tore through the vehicle. A casino security guard engaged Hoover in a firefight, exchanging shots and delaying the gunman's movements. Police arrived 3 minutes later and shot Hoover multiple times. Hoover was transported to the hospital, where he died 2 days later. The attack left 3 innocent victims dead and 2 others critically injured, while investigators credited the security guard's actions with preventing additional casualties during the busy morning rush. Dealing table death. On April 6, 2022, around 2 in the afternoon, David Jagalinzer was playing blackjack at a table inside Wynn Las Vegas. The 48-year-old attorney was engaged in his game when he suddenly slumped forward over the table. Surveillance footage captured his head resting against the felt surface and his arm hanging limp at his side. Other players at the table looked toward him with concern, but the game continued around his motionless body. According to the wrongful death lawsuit filed by his family, the dealer continued dealing cards to another player at the same table for approximately 16 minutes. David remained collapsed in his chair while the game proceeded. The lawsuit alleges that when casino employees finally approached the table, they counted David's gaming chips before attempting any medical intervention. Staff members gathered his stack of chips and processed them while he sat unresponsive. Eventually, employees checked on David and realized he was not breathing. According to the complaint, staff attempted to use a defibrillator but were allegedly not properly trained on its operation. Paramedics were called and transported David to the hospital. He remained in critical condition for months, suffering from anoxic encephalopathy, which is brain damage caused by lack of oxygen to the brain. David died on October 18, 2022, more than 6 months after the initial cardiac arrest. His family's lawsuit claimed the casino's profit-over-safety culture, exemplified by continuing the game and counting chips before rendering aid, directly caused his death. Drugging scheme. On October 4, 2025, a 38-year-old man identified only as Arslan met Raylan Marie Benzie on the casino floor at Alani Casino in Ridgefield, Washington. The two went up to Arslan's room on the 10th floor of the hotel around evening hours. Surveillance cameras captured Benzie entering the room and staying for approximately 1 hour before leaving alone. She walked through the hallway and took the elevator back down to the casino level. Shortly after her initial departure, Benzie returned to the 10th floor with an unidentified male accomplice. The two entered Arslan's room for a 7-minute interval. According to the probable cause affidavit filed by investigators, Benzie laced Arslan's drink with fentanyl during this brief visit. She stole his casino winning voucher worth approximately $1,200 while he was unconscious. The pair left the room and headed back downstairs. Surveillance footage showed Benzie at a casino kiosk on the gaming floor, cashing out the stolen voucher. She collected the money and left the property. Arslan was discovered dead in his 10th floor hotel room the following afternoon. Hotel staff had entered to check on him after he missed checkout time. Benzie later sent panicked text messages to an associate admitting her involvement, writing that she panicked and did something foolish and could go away for a very long time. She was arrested and held on $10 million bail for first-degree murder after toxicology reports confirmed Arslan died solely from fentanyl poisoning. Construction collapse. On March 7, 2023, at 9:30 in the morning, Anna Vetter was working on the expansion project at Spokane Tribe Casino in Airway Heights, Washington. The 27-year-old construction worker was positioned inside the elevator shaft area of a new hotel tower being added to the casino property. She was helping set up concrete forms, which are temporary molds that hold wet concrete in place until it hardens. The construction site was active with multiple workers spread across different levels of the structure. A massive section of formwork suddenly gave way without warning. Witnesses in the nearby parking lot reported hearing a sound like a bomb exploding that shook vehicles and rattled windows. The noise echoed across the construction zone as a metal structure measuring approximately 30 feet by 70 feet collapsed inward. Anna was directly beneath the failing structure as it came down. The collapse crushed Anna under tons of twisted metal and broken framework. Emergency responders arrived within minutes, but could not immediately access her body due to the instability of the debris pile. Engineers assessed the wreckage to determine how rescue workers could safely enter the area. The process took considerable time as additional supports were installed to prevent further collapse. Anna was pronounced dead at the scene from blunt force injuries. The incident halted the multi-million-dollar expansion project for months, while state investigators examined the structural failure of the concrete forms. Restaurant cardiac crisis. On June 25, 2024, during evening hours, Michael Heslin was at Javier's Mexican restaurant inside Aria Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. The 30-year-old actor and producer was celebrating a birthday with his husband and friends in the upscale dining room. The group was enjoying their meal when Michael suddenly collapsed from a cardiac event. He fell from his chair and landed on the restaurant floor, as other diners turned to see what had happened. According to the wrongful death lawsuit filed by Michael's husband, a bystander who was an off-duty intensive care unit nurse immediately rushed to Michael's side and began performing CPR. The nurse positioned Michael properly and began chest compressions, following emergency protocols. Casino security guards arrived at the scene and, according to the complaint, physically intervened to stop the nurse from continuing CPR. The guards allegedly told the nurse she was trespassing and could not touch Michael. The lawsuit claims security staff failed to retrieve an automated external defibrillator despite one being available nearby in the casino. The complaint also alleges that security guards ordered Michael's friends to delete video footage they had recorded of the incident. Minutes passed while the nurse was kept away from Michael, and no defibrillator was brought to the scene. By the time paramedics were finally allowed to work on Michael, he was brain dead from oxygen deprivation. He was transported to the hospital and remained on life support until July 2, 2024, when he was pronounced dead. Michael's husband filed a lawsuit claiming the security team's aggressive interference with the Good Samaritan nurse directly cost Michael his life. By the way, if you find this informative, I cover stories like these regularly. Consider subscribing if you'd like to see more. Thanks. Now back to the video. Poolside drowning. On June 15, 2023, Paul Nakashima was vacationing with his family at Excalibur Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. The 60-year-old Canadian tourist was visiting the court pool to celebrate his birthday. The pool area was moderately busy with guests enjoying the warm afternoon. Paul walked toward the shallow end, intending to enter the water via the pool steps. He slipped while descending the steps and fell forward into the shallow water. His head struck the pool bottom with significant force, and he became unresponsive immediately. Paul floated face down in the water near the steps as other swimmers began to notice something was wrong. According to the wrongful death lawsuit filed by his estate, lifeguards did not immediately observe the emergency unfolding in their designated zone. When lifeguards finally responded, the complaint alleges they lacked immediate access to a backboard or automated external defibrillator at Poolside. Staff allegedly had to run to a different location to retrieve the critical life-saving equipment. Witnesses described watching valuable minutes pass with Paul remaining in the water without proper stabilization or emergency intervention. Family members watched in horror as the chaotic rescue attempt unfolded. Paul was eventually pulled from the water and transported to the hospital. He died the following day from drowning complications related to the head injury. His estate sued the casino for negligence, citing the lack of immediately accessible equipment and the failure of lifeguards to effectively monitor the pool area. Fentanyl overdose. On May 18, 2021, around 2 in the morning, Ethan Berwani was at Mohegan Sun Casino in Uncasville, Connecticut with friends. The 22-year-old went to the restroom during the night out. Inside the restroom, he encountered a dealer named Gerard Santiago and purchased what he believed was cocaine. The drugs were laced with lethal levels of fentanyl, though Ethan had no way of knowing this at the time of purchase. Ethan left the restroom and walked back onto the casino floor. Surveillance video captured him moving through the gaming area before sitting down in a chair near several active blackjack tables. Within minutes, he slumped over and collapsed onto the casino floor. His body lay on the carpeted gaming floor between rows of slot machines and table games as casino activity continued around him. For approximately 11 minutes, Ethan remained on the floor, while scores of people walked past his motionless body. Casino staff did not check on him during this time. Other patrons stepped around him as they moved between gaming stations. Eventually, someone alerted casino personnel that a person appeared to be in distress. Medical teams were called and arrived to find Ethan unresponsive with severe brain damage from oxygen deprivation. He was transported to the hospital, where he remained in critical condition for 9 days before dying on May 27, 2021. The dealer was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison, and Ethan's father later launched a foundation to raise awareness about fentanyl dangers, creating a video game to teach teenagers about the risks. Slot machine fatality. On February 13, 2022, Super Bowl Sunday, Billy Sackab was at Wynn Las Vegas. The woman in her mid-70s was a seasoned world traveler who had visited 60 countries during her life. She was at the casino to enjoy the Super Bowl festivities while playing slot machines. The casino was packed with people gathered around televisions and gaming areas to watch the big game. Billy sat alone at a slot machine in a bank of similar machines on the gaming floor. She played her machine while the crowd around her focused on the football game broadcasting throughout the casino. During the game, she suffered a medical emergency and collapsed at her machine. Her body slumped forward in the chair as the slot machine continued to flash and emit sounds around her. Because the machine was positioned within a dense bank of slots, and most patrons' attention was directed toward the televisions showing the Super Bowl, Billy was not immediately noticed. She remained collapsed at her machine, while nearby gamblers continued playing, and crowds cheered at game developments. Eventually, someone realized she was unresponsive and alerted casino staff. Billy was pronounced dead before she could be transported from the property. Her family later sued the casino, questioning why the sophisticated surveillance system known as the Eye in the Sky could catch a cheater within seconds, but failed to notice a dying grandmother surrounded by crowds too focused on screens to help. Food court execution. On December 3, 2025, around noon, Darnell Hawkins Jr. was standing in line at the Shake Shack, located in the food court at MGM National Harbor in Oxon Hill, Maryland. The 23-year-old was waiting to order during the lunch rush as other diners filled the busy food court. The casino property was crowded with guests moving between gaming areas and dining options. Benjamin Williams, a 22-year-old man, entered the property and walked directly toward the food court area. Williams approached the Shake Shack line without any apparent argument or warning. He walked up behind Darnell and opened fire at close range. Darnell fell to the floor as panicked diners screamed and scattered in every direction. Williams stood over Darnell's body and fired additional rounds to ensure death. The execution-style attack was captured on high-definition surveillance cameras throughout the food court. Williams calmly walked away from the scene and exited the casino property. He got into a Honda Accord and drove away from MGM National Harbor. Darnell was pronounced dead at the scene, amidst the chaos of terrified diners and overturned tables. Police immediately began reviewing surveillance footage and tracking Williams's movements from the property. Williams was apprehended hours later after telling a friend that he had done something terrible and killed someone. Police described the incident as a targeted assassination rather than a random act, bringing the reality of street violence into the supposedly safe environment of a high-security casino resort. If this was informative, consider subscribing so you don't miss future content. Thanks for watching.